Hi guys, welcome to my channel where we talk about everything from tech to films and all the fun stuff in between. In today's video, let's review the iPad Pro. I've covered almost all the iPads which Apple offers on my channel. I'll link them down below, but I haven't covered the most powerful and the most expensive one which they offer. So let's dive right in. See, since the conception of the iPad, the design of it didn't change that much. Yes, the bezels got thinner and the entire device got lighter, but the complete redesign of the iPad only happened 8 years after its conception. That is in 2018. And we got the iPad Pro in two different sizes, that is, 11-inch and a 12.9-inch, in a relatively smaller and more fragile form factor. We'll come back to the fragile part later. First, let's look at the specs and see how they transfer into real-world usage. The iPad Pro packs in a blazing fast A12X Bionic chip with 4GB of RAM, coming with a base storage of 64GB and going all the way up to a whopping terabyte of storage. And the terabyte model will get 6GB of RAM instead of the 4GB. Now, this is going to be super fast. Don't think there's anything which you throw at it the iPad Pro can't handle. Games, 4K video editing, Photoshop, 3D design, you name it, the iPad Pro has you covered with that. The display is a Retina LCD with the same pixel density as the iPad Air at 264 ppi, but the display is ProMotion, which means it refreshes at the rate of 120 Hz instead of the standard 60 Hz. I know everyone in the tech world goes gaga over this, but how does this transfer in real world? Even the few people whom I know who have this iPad didn't even know what that was until I pointed it out. If you see, I tried comparing this with the iPad Air a few times to see the differences. I know it doesn't show up on camera, but yes, scrolling felt a bit smoother, especially on websites, and maybe the Apple Pencil felt smoother than the first generation. Besides this, I did not find any differences when watching videos or using normal apps. So this ProMotion display is a good option to have, but I don't think this alone justifies the £300 extra price which the Pro demands. Which brings me to the price of the Pros. The iPad Pros start from £769 for the 11-inch model and £969 for the 12.9-inch model, giving you a base storage of the still same 64GB which you got with the other iPads before. Even the iPad Air gets the same 64GB as the base storage, and it is £300 cheaper. Then the price of the iPad Pros goes all the way up to an eye-watering £1,669 if you want the top-end storage 1TB option with cellular connectivity. Just a thought here, guys. You can probably find the iPad Pros cheaper as it's been 2 years since its launch and the new updated Pros are just around the corner. The iPad weighs in at 468 grams for the 11-inch and 631 grams for the 12.9-inch version, but the weight distribution is so perfect that they really feel thin and light to hold. Which brings me back to the issue with the thinness. I have seen so many posts about the iPad Pro bending, especially the 12.9-inch version, just on normal usage, same as how the iPhone 4 did back then. I'm pretty sure Apple would probably add reinforced steel bits in the next upgrade, but I don't understand why didn't they do this already? They had the huge iPhone bend gate issue to learn from. But that is one thing you have to consider, guys, because the iPad Pros are bending even with normal usage. Next up is Face ID. The Pros do not have the home button and everything is controlled via gestures. In fact, even the iPad Air or the entry-level iPad, you can do everything without touching the home button besides authentication. So you're really not going to miss the home button. And the True Depth Sensing tech which the iPhone X introduced is there on the iPad Pros for face authentication. Actually, the Pros get slightly better version as it works in any orientation, whereas the ones on the iPhone, even the latest 11 Pros, only work in one direction. I'm not sure if the sensing tech has got any better on the iPad Pros as I haven't tested this in depth, but On my iPhone 11 Pro Max, it still doesn't work on my droopy-eyed, speckless face in early mornings. This is even after I saved an alternative profile of that droopy-eyed early morning face. Next up is speakers. I've recently reviewed my iPad Air 2019. We'll link that down below again. But one main thing which I miss from my iPad Air is that quad speaker setup from the iPad Pros. Here you get two speakers at both the ends and you get that really true stereo audio firing from both the sides of the iPad. And this makes so much difference, especially when you're watching movies without using the headphones. Next is the USB-C port. This is more future-proof and it gives you better connectivity options as compared to the Lightning ports on the other iPads. But seriously, are we going to bin all our existing USB portable drives, pen drives, and Lightning cables to adapt to this new USB-C type port? Probably not. The most we will do is get a dongle from USB-C to USB-B or older to use these devices. But yes, the iPad Pros are more future-proof, as with the USB Type-C, you definitely get faster transfer speeds. Oh, by the way, Apple pulled the 3.5mm headphone jack out of the Pros, so you need to either use USB-C wired headphones or go for the wireless ones. Then the microphones and the cameras, they are all better on the iPad Pros. The rear camera especially is decent. Still not as good as the iPhone 11 series, but you can shoot 4K videos up to 60 frames per second, and the rear camera also gets the dual tone flash. Whereas the iPad Air can only do 1080p at 30 frames per second. Not sure if this is good, as for me, shooting with an iPad is almost like shooting with your laptop if your laptop had a decent rear-facing camera. Next, let's talk about those first-party accessories. First up is the keyboard case which Apple offers. This keyboard case magnetically attaches to the iPad and connects via the smart connector at the back, giving you that keyboard with the physical keys and also doubling down as a stand to prop up your iPad. It is a rather expensive accessory, costing at £179 for the 11-inch iPad Pro and $199 for that bigger one. All iPads which Apple currently sells besides the Mini do support their own version of the smart keyboard cover, so it's not just an exclusive to the iPad Pros. What is exclusive though is that second generation Apple Pencil. All iPads besides the Pros only support the first gen Pencil, but the Pro gets the second gen one, which magnetically attaches to the side of the iPad and also pairs and charges at the same time. This is definitely a better implementation of the Apple Pencil, especially compared to that first gen one. I have tried both the first gen and second gen pencils. Whilst the first gen is excellent, the second gen pushes this even further. I simply cannot stress how buttery smooth this is. Maybe a bit too smooth. It's almost like taking a hot pointed tip and writing on butter. And like these amazing drawings, if you're someone who does those kind of things or draws 3D models or designs fonts or any of that kind, then this is definitely one for you. For the rest of us, this second gen Apple Pencil is a £120 accessory. So you judge your requirement and then spend your hard-earned cash on it. But honestly, I have tried styluses before, and the Apple ones, both the first gen and second gen, are a class above all of them. And think that is it actually. Everything else is typical iPad. You get all that iPad OS goodness, and I have actually reviewed what you can do with the iPad OS and what kind of accessories you can connect to it. I'll link down that video again if you wish to check it out. So in conclusion, would I recommend the iPad Pro? See, if there wasn't that middle ground iPad Air, then it would have been an easy decision. You either go for the entry-level basic iPad or you go in for that all-powerful Pro. But the iPad Air's sole existence begs the question of spending that £300 extra for a newer design and slight upgrade in performance. Actually, I need to talk about that performance. The single core score of the iPad Pro is same as the iPad Air, But on multi-core score, the iPad totally obliterates the competition. It's almost double that of iPad Air. But there are very few apps that makes use of it, mostly high-end 3D modeling and design apps, which probably are better any day on a device using a mouse pointer. So again, do you need such kind of power, especially when the iPad Air gives you most of the iPad that you'll ever need? So yes, if you have the budget and the requirement, even then, at the moment, I wouldn't say go and buy the iPad Pro, as we are just around the corner of the Pros being upgraded. Here is the leaked, rumored version of the 2020 iPad Pros. Not sure what bringing the Pro camera system to the iPad will do, but seems like we probably might get that. So hold off for another 2 months. Even if you don't like the new upgraded Pros, the old ones will go down in price and give you a better bargain. So that's it, guys. A bit late on this, but this is my take on the current iPad Pros. Please leave your comments down below and let me know your thoughts about it. And please do subscribe, as this would immensely help a new YouTuber like me. And as always, thanks a lot for staying until the end. I will see you in my next video. Bye for now.